Welcome, everyone, to the Walking Cast, episode 114. I am your host, Matrix Lord 212, and I'm with Chris. What's up, Chris?
What's up, guys?
All right, so I don't know about you, Chris, but to me, this is a little too much Walking Dead. It's bothering me. It's depressing. What do you think?
I think this is perfect.
Really?
I think everything you're feeling is exactly what they want you to feel.
Dude, enough. Daryl suffering. Rick is like done. But the highlight of the night is that Judith is Shane's kid.
Allegedly.
Amazing. And that they burned the mattresses. That they didn't even need to take them. They burned them.
I thought that was an excellent touch in the episode.
Unbelievable. Where is Tara?
I don't know. That's a good question. Because that African-American guy usually go on the runs for them, so I don't know. I don't know when the last time we saw them was. We saw them pulling up in that RV. At least I thought it was them. After what's-her-name died, who got the arrow through the head.
Right, and then they must have left.
Yeah.
Rick left.
Yeah.
And we never seen him again.
Yeah, so. I don't know. That's a good question. I thought that they would at least show up tonight in the episode, But I don't know. Maybe they're going on runs trying to get supplies for when the Saviors come in or something. We don't even know if they know about the Saviors.
Yeah, I don't think they do.
They could come back one day and be like, what the hell's going on? Who's that guy with the bat? Where's Glenn? Where's Abraham?
Right. And now, yeah, how is she going to react when she finds out that Glenn's gone?
Yeah, right.
That's going to be amazing. What about, like, Maggie, the preview of Maggie going to Hilltop and then Negan shows up, right? Well, not Negan, but his people.
Simon, yeah. Yeah.
So.
That's interesting because, Father Gabriel telling them that she died was kind of interesting. It kind of seemed like a good idea.
Well, he never said she died because he never actually said it.
No, but
he just led them to the graves.
Yeah, he thinks that she's dead, and that's not going to bode well if Simon goes back and it's like, what are you talking about? We just saw her at Hilltop.
Well, that's the whole thing. She's going to hide, probably.
Yeah, she has to. She has no choice. But here's the thing. She doesn't know that they said that. Well,
she'll probably kind of put two and two together and figure out that, they're trying to protect her.
They don't know either, though.
Yeah,
Hilltop doesn't know, unless they somehow sent them, said, hey, listen, we said that but I don't think that they...
She's a pregnant woman. I think they're going to protect her, make her not known to people.
They should. But you know what I think, though? I think that one guy is going to try to kind of sell her out, the leader of Hilltop right now.
Oh, and they'll kill him.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I think Simon might kill him next time, but who knows?
Yeah, well, maybe Jesus might.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, it's hard saying his name because, but, yeah, Jesus is still around there. So, pretty funny. And then we got Carol and Morgan. So yes. I guess next episode is not going to be with Rick at all. It's going to be a Maggie-centric Hilltop episode. And then we're going to have an episode where it's going to be just Tara, right? And then the finale, I guess, right? I mean...
I don't know. To tell you the truth, I have no idea.
I mean, how many do we have left? Not that many. I don't think. This was what? This was 4? 4, right, Chris?
I think you're right. I think I don't think there's
4,
many left.
We got 4 more, I think, right?
I think 3 or 4, yeah.
So we're going to have the mid-season finale with Rick probably. What I think is going to happen is that I think Carl, I'm going to make a prediction, all right? I'm going to make a prediction that Carl is going to go after Negan in the mid-season finale, just like the comics, I think. And I think that that's going to put something in Rick that, look, my son's going to keep acting like this, and I need to, I have no choice now. I have to kill Negan. I have to kill the group. I have to kill whatever because I have to protect my son. and my family, and they're not going to go along with what I have to go along with. So I think that's what's going to happen. I don't think it's going to turn out well like it does in the comics, where Negan befriends Carl. I think that Negan's going to shove it in Rick's face that he's got Carl, and I think Rick is just going to up his game and go to, like, you know, team up with everybody to go after Negan or something. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, you could be right. I mean, they could also stick pretty close to the comics if they wanted to, and have Carl try to kill him, because that kind of looks like what this is leading to. But I don't know. You know, the show is always going to try to be different from the comics where it can be. But they are sticking to the comics pretty well.
Yeah.
From what I saw tonight, so.
Did you like the episode? You liked it, right? You said?
I did. I thought it was good. I don't know why it had to be an hour and a half, but I'm not complaining. I don't think it was a bad episode. I think that the more they make people kind of despair with the characters that they love now, the better it will be towards the end.
Right.
Towards the end of this arc, because you got to remember too, if they decide to do this the way that they do it in the comics, Negan's not getting killed anytime soon. And I read an article that said that they're planning to keep him around for a while.
Right.
So.
All right. So.
Which I think is a good move, because I think he is probably one of the most interesting characters they've ever had on the show, like he is in the comics. You know what I'm saying? He's definitely, in my opinion, the best villain they've had.
Also, having a time jump in the comic gives this opportunity, because they don't have to have a time jump.
Yeah, exactly. They don't.
They could just have 2-3 years of just build up.
Sure.
So that way they get caught up with the comic. I mean, the comic will always be ahead, and they'll have, you know, some stories to tell. So I'm predicting that they're not going to do a time jump with, you know, hey, Gloria, what's up? Hello, Gloria. Hello.
Hey.
How are you?
Good.
All right, so what'd you think of Walking Dead?
Wow. Well, you know, I didn't get to be on, you know, the podcast for last week's. I'll just say last week's, it was heartbreaking to see Daryl being tortured. The song is stuck in my head. I can't stand that song now because it's like all the time in my head. I'm like trying to get it out. And it you know, like I said before when we mentioned about him being naked and stuff, I didn't see it as a sexual thing regardless because of the torture and everything. And then Dwight's story, Sherry, I saw all that coming because it's part of the comic book. But I like that she tried to help Daryl and everything. And it shows that with Dwight being, you know, don't talk to him, he's like kind of upset, but not trying to hide it about the fact that, you know, Negan stole her from him and all that. And I like that they kind of had a little bit of a parallel with the smoking, you know, between Dwight and Sherry, and then the smoking with Daryl and Carol on the steps on I think it was episode 14 of last season. Parallel them with another married couple like they did with Glenn and Maggie in the hug scene in the end of episode 13 of last season, the same boat. So that was kind of cool. I thought that was neat. But yeah, I don't like Dwight still. And then this week's just made me not like him even more, even though you do kind of feel bad for him in the episode.
No, I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad for him at all. No.
I kind of felt bad because it was his wife, regardless of the Negan thing. He's the world. He's not like the leader of the world. He can't force a couple to get divorced, regardless of what he wants. So really,
but the thing is, he should have never went back to Negan.
Yeah, I know.
That's the whole point. They were out. They were out. That's it.
Yeah, I know. But listen, she did it to protect Dwight. You know, Sherry. She begged Negan not to kill him, and that's why, you know, they came up with that situation of her being with Negan and everything. But it's still sad because, you know, no matter what Negan says, they're still married. You know, just he's like forcing divorce on them. But really, like technically, if the world was still the way it was before the apocalypse, they're still married, no matter what Negan says. It's just that his word, saying yes, he's going to claim her from him.
Well, now you get into a whole new thing. Well, not a whole new thing, but you get into the whole sanctity of marriage and all that other stuff. And the thing is that she already slept with the guy I don't know how many times, and they're not going to be, even if Negan died tomorrow, that marriage is done as far as I'm concerned. I mean,
I know. They still love each other, and they're doing it to protect each other and stuff. So the love is still there. So you do kind of, and I think the song that he played for Daryl, the new song, not Easy Street, was like kind of letting Daryl know that that's how he feels for Sherry.
No, and then, that song was to rub it in when that Glenn died at Abraham. That's what that.
Yeah, also that, but it's like a double meaning. It's a whole bunch of things, because whenever he was like laying his head down as he was playing it, you could tell it was like getting to Dwight too.
But the reason why he had his head down is because Negan, when he was in the cell like that, Negan was playing that song to him. Exactly,
because he knew it was rubbing it in on Dwight because of his wife and stuff, and he took his wife from him. So like to hear him hearing the song again is like kind of touchy for him. So he's playing it to Daryl to rub it in about all the Glenn and stuff, and the whole thing with what Daryl said about that he knew why he did it, why he said why he calls himself Negan, why he lets Negan, like why he is deciding to be under Negan's thumb is because he's thinking of Sherry, he's thinking of someone else, and that's why Daryl can't. He can't do it. Opposite of what Dwight can't, because he has honor and he wants to honor the memory of Glenn and Abraham and not give in, because that would be giving up his honor, and it would be disrespectful to Glenn and Abraham, and also not just them but also Team Family, of everything that he has with the Team Family. So he doesn't give in, and that's why he couldn't. So yeah, I like that. I like that he said that, and I love that he didn't say Negan, that he said Daryl. I knew he was going to say Daryl, because I'm like, there was no way he would say Negan. And when he said Daryl, I was like, woohoo! And I also like that they're still doing the whole like cat got your tongue and all that, and then the whole he was still Tiger and the any meeny miny mo thing. So it's like kind of. They're still doing a whole bunch of the tiger references with Daryl. It's funny, and the cat analogies and stuff, like 9 Lives Remember and all that kind of stuff. So it's like that's kind of cool. I'm like, why do they keep on bringing up the tiger stuff? It's so funny with Daryl, and he act like a caged animal in the back of the van and stuff, and then he sounded like he was growling when they were pushing him down after he attacked Negan right before Glenn died. But yeah, there's all that, and then so that episode was really, really, really hard to watch. I couldn't stand seeing him being tortured, and whenever they beat him, after he tried to escape, I was like, oh my gosh. And I love that he didn't flinch and everything. And so yeah, that episode was it was well made and good, but it was just hard to see, because I don't like seeing him being tortured, especially that moment when he looked like he was about to fall asleep, and he was putting his head down, had his eyes closed, and it was silent, and finally he was about to fall asleep, and then it started back up again, and he woke up, and it was like, oh my gosh, that's so torturous. Because, I mean, I know how it feels to be sleep deprived, because I've babysitted it before, for nieces and nephews that are like small babies, and it's hard to sleep or crying. So I know how that is, like when you get sleep deprived, and it's like, when you finally feel like you're about to fall asleep and then you kind of get woken up again, it's so annoying. And he had to endure that for like that song over and over. I'm sure after he gets out, because I truly believe he's going to get out, I'm sure he'll never want to hear that song again. If he ever hears it, he'll probably want to kill whoever plays it.
Right.
It'll be like a trigger.
You know what they should do?
What?
If they do what I think they're going to do with Negan, right? They should put him in the cell and play that song on loop while he's in the cell.
Yes.
That's what I'm hoping too. That would be awesome.
And added bonus would be if, let's say, they decide to break Lucille earlier in the show than they do in the comic. Put the broken pieces on the wall opposite of Negan.
Yeah.
They're at it.
So it's sort of like the picture, the Polaroid, but it's Lucille's head.
Yeah.
Exactly. That'd be funny. Oh man, that would be kind of clever and neat.
Well, what did Gloria? What did you think of this episode?
Oh my gosh. I was upset they didn't. Well, I mean, I'm kind of on the fence about that. Daryl didn't get to find out, like, Carol leaving, and not only that, but he didn't get to talk any because of Negan. But I mean, but at the same time, I'm kind of okay with it because I'm like thinking if he knew that the person he's so close with is gone and out there, probably in danger. I mean, he wouldn't know. That it would cause him it to be even worse for him in the sanctuary. So he doesn't need added, whatever that would cause him to be upset or whatever. So I wouldn't want that. So because he's already going through enough. So I'm actually kind of happy he doesn't know. I'm sure after he gets out, he will find out, and then they'll be able to do that. I'm going
to make a prediction that Daryl's going to be with some people from Negan's group, and that Maggie is going to save Daryl. And he's going to be with Maggie, and he's going to be so grateful that she's alive and stuff like that. And I think...
Well, he does. I'm pretty sure he does make it to Hilltop. When he escapes or however he gets out of the sanctuary. I'm sure he'll go there because since now he thinks that maybe she might be dead. I mean, on Talking Dead, what is his name? Dave Albert said that he wasn't really... He was there physically, but whenever Gabriel came up with the idea of saying that she died, it was like he was there, but he was trying as a self-preservation to kind of keeping himself sane or not listening really, because it like not wanting to be there physically, but not there like.
You're talking about Daryl? You're talking about?
Because if he was paying attention, he'd have more of a chance of hearing something that he might not like, and it might cause him to, trying to keep himself safe by not listening. Because if he listens, it's like there's a chance he might.
I'm pretty sure that he heard that Maggie was dead.
Well, I'm just going by what David Albert, one of the executive producers, said on Talking Dead. He said he probably wasn't completely there mentally, like as a self-preservation thing. He was trying to not let any of what was said around him affect him, because if it did, it would cause more problems for Rick and them. Yes, Rick tried to talk to him, but then he kind of, and also there was the whole part when Negan was like saying that he could try to ask him to, if he could say, remember when Rick said, let, Daryl stay, and he's like, well, have Daryl decide, are you going to persuade, try to persuade me to let you stay? He knew it was like a setup, like he was testing him. So he didn't say anything. He didn't try. And I think that's part of what Dave Albert said. He said that he's like trying to kind of, as self-preservation, he's trying to keep himself, from hearing anything or acting on anything, trying not to let it get to him personally, because if he did, something might go wrong. He might like lash out again. And
well, the thing that I don't think anybody realizes that the fact that he lived like this with his dad, eating dog food, being treated like shit, being abused mentally, physically, and probably sexually. So, like, he already went through this. So it's just he has some type of inner strength, and he's gonna.
Yes. Yeah, and like they said, Norman Reedus said on interviews, he said he's taken it because he right now thinks he deserves. Well, in the first half of the beginning part of the last episode, not this tonight's, but the third episode, he actually wasn't trying to escape or anything. After he started once he started to escape, I think that's when he started to say, okay, well, he wanted to try to get out. But I think before that, he let himself. He didn't really care what they were doing to him. He was like eating the sandwiches. He didn't care and all that because he thinks he deserves it. And I think in a way he still thinks he deserves it. So that's why he's like not wanting to react, wanting to kind of, like you said, he's used to that kind of abuse and everything. So he's not gonna, lash out anymore. He's learning his lesson, like wanting to stay kind of holding himself back to where he won't cause any problems for anyone, because he doesn't want to cause Negan to harm anyone of the family while he's there. So he's like just trying to.
He's not going to say nothing.
I think it would be so great if we had another episode, not like a whole episode with Daryl in the cell, but maybe if we have another scene with Daryl in the cell. I think it would be fantastic if they had his brother show up.
Oh, Merle.
Like a hallucination again.
Yeah. Great if Merle showed up.
Have him show up and like have that be the moment where Daryl comes to terms with what happened, and then maybe even have Glenn show up in the vision as well. And
oh my God, cry.
That's how
what I would do is I would do an episode called Ghosts, and I would have Rick dreaming of Shane picking up Judith, and then talking to Rick, and like interaction with that, and Herschel also. Maybe even Glenn too.
The whole thing about Judith, yes, he said that, but like Lou Diamond Phillips, he was on Talking Dead, and he said something, and then I think, after he said what he says that, yes, he's just accepting it in terms of, like, because it helps what he was trying to explain to Michonne, that no matter what, the most important thing, whether whose real father she is, that's not or whose father that is her father, it doesn't really matter. That's not the most important thing. The most important thing is how they get from one day to the next. And that is what's important. So he's like trying to he uses that as a way to get Michonne to understand, like, now with the things the way they are, that he's accepting it because he's just trying to keep the people he loves safe. And that's
but Carl's going to wind up, they're going to deviate from the comics where Carl is going to go after Negan, but there's going to be consequences, and Rick is going to have to step in and save his son. In this case, it's not going to be that Negan's going to let him go like that. It's going to be known that Carl, and that's it. Everything, all bets are off. The hell with it. The hell with Alexandria. The hell with everything. Carl's in trouble. I'm going to wreck this guy. And that's basically what's going to happen. It's going to snap him back to reality that Judith isn't safe. Michonne isn't safe. Like his own family, that's it. And Rick is going to be a badass, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the finale, mid-season finale, that Carl gets kidnapped and then Rick loses it.
Yeah.
But
what, like she was saying about Lou Diamond Phillips, he was saying, and I think, Dave Albert, he kind of agreed with him. I mean, he couldn't say, every little thing like officially, because he was saying it to kind of make a point in his thing that he's most important. But then he still might, he knows that there's a high chance that she could be Shane's, and so he's accepting that. And that he still loves her like...
Here's the thing. At the end of the day, Lou Diamond Phillips don't work with Walking Dead. That's just his opinion. And I don't count that at all. I do feel that it could be Shane's kid. And
there's a chance. Dave Albert kind of agreed with him. He's one of the executive producers. He didn't say point blank that he is. He's just saying that he was getting across the same thing Rick was doing, is that he was just doing it to, like, prove a point to Michonne and helping Michonne understand what's good and why he's, letting Negan get away and not fighting back or anything, just to keep us safe. And that the most important thing, even if she isn't his daughter, he loves her and wants to protect her, and Carl and her and everything. I love that moment when they're inside the burnt church and she's like, he's asking for the gun, and I love when he's like, I'm not losing you, I'm not losing anyone else, and that made me cry so much, because so adorable. But yeah, it's that the beginning of that part, that was the beginning of the same talk, and then they got to finish it later when he tells her about that, and it kind of brings it home, and I think she starts to kind of understand. I mean, not completely. I still think she's like, because she goes out there again and on that, like, broken down car, and then she sees the mattresses burning and all that, but I still think she kind of sort of understands where Rick's standing at that point.
That's not going to fly. She's gonna look. Here's the thing. He's not in his right state of mind right now. And in life, even if it wasn't a zombie apocalypse, you can't live like that. Okay? You can't live like somebody like that in your life. So they're all gonna rebel. And then when his group starts, let me finish for a second. When his group starts rebelling and he's not rebelling, that's when he's gonna start rebelling, because he can't control his group anymore. He's not the leader anymore. So he's going to wind up snapping back into reality.
He will.
Yeah.
Because, like, we're the based on the comic and everything, I think the season finale is probably going to be the second lineup. And
well, the mid-season comes first. The mid-season finale, and then it's the next year will be the finale. Right?
The way things are going, the rate and everything, I think that I'm predicting that the season finale will be the second lineup. Now, the mid-season finale, I think it's like right in the middle. I think it will probably be, some other, I think possibly to do with Hilltop and the Sanctuary, or maybe a little bit more of trying to get allies and stuff. But then the season finale, I think, will be the second lineup. That's like a good time frame of like possibly that could be, because then it will mirror the season premiere. You know how it was so glum and it was the first lineup and it's sad and sadly, but then if they kind of change it, because they said in interviews in articles and stuff, they said about how it was going to, they have to pull them down, they have to break the heroes down so that way they can rise again and become stronger again.
Yeah, but the fans can't wait 2-3 years before they do that. It's got to be instantaneous. It's got to be by mid-season finale, that Rick's on his way back to reality. And then the next part in February, we see that they're at war with Negan. They're not going to do a time jump on the show because they're put up with the comics. So the 2 or 3 year gap that we don't see in the comics, we will see in the show.
That's what I'm saying, Joe, that the ending of this season is going to mirror the first half. The first half is glum and dark, and they're all like under Negan's thumb. And then the end of the season will be kind of mirror with it, meaning it's going to be opposite of what the beginning was. So the first lineup is the first episode, and then the second lineup being the last episode of the season, and it's like an opposite. It ends happily or kind of optimistically compared to the beginning, the first episode of the season. So that would be kind of showing you it's the beginning of All Out War, because then Negan, if they have that second lineup, then that will be the beginning of All Out War for season 8. And then that will be like, it will start going crazy again because all the stuff that leads up to the All Out War storyline. Yeah.
Very nice.
I can't wait to see the rest of this season.
We've got four more episodes, Gloria, so far? Four more episodes. We have the Hilltop episode. We have the Tara episode. We probably have another Kingdom episode, and then we have a Rick episode finale, mid-season finale probably. So
yeah, I'm predicting Daryl gets out on the mid-season finale, out of the Kingdom. Or not the Kingdom, but I mean the
I think he'll be in the Hilltop with Maggie.
And then he'll go to the Hilltop in the same episode, and then after that, there's some other stuff after that. But I'm predicting the mid-season finale for him to get out.
All right. Anything else, Chris?
For a whole season, half season.
Not that I can think of.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye for now.